Hello, boys and girls, welcome to my channel. I'm for Classic and welcome to BenchART. So for today, what I do every day is Metaphor ReFantazio. So this is a new game from Atlas, the same developers of Shin Megami Tensei, or probably the most well-known game from them, which is the Persona series. You probably already have heard about it. So this is their new game, and the engine is the same engine as the Persona 5, contrary to what happened with Shin Megami Tensei 5, or even Persona 3 Reloaded, which does use the Unreal Engine. This game, although it was being developed by for more time than all of the other titles, and so because of that it still uses their old engine, and it doesn't seem to be an engine that it is prepared by today's standards and today's techniques, and it's incredibly demanding for some reason. I'm playing right here, right now. I'm sorry for not showing up the settings. There are some recordings which I did forget about showing the settings, but basically in here I'm playing at 1080p and no ambient occlusion, and basically what I do after none, it is essentially just textures on high. You either choose textures on high or textures on medium or low, I think. I don't really remember at the moment. And you have ambient occlusion, and you have resolution scaling, which is always set to 100% on this entire video. And so, even at the low settings, we can clearly see that we are very close to drop down from 60 frames per second. There are moments where we did drop slightly a bit from 60 frames per second, but I'm playing with no ambient occlusion, which causes a frame rate drop of around 10 frames per second, 15 frames per second. It is quite demanding, but still, performance is good. It is above, like I said, 60 frames per second, but I have no ambient occlusion, and this is a very old engine, so there is nothing special about it. And yet, this is incredibly demanding. This game also doesn't have any anti-aliasing at all. I'm not saying that you don't have anti-aliasing options. You don't have really any anti-aliasing, not even some old school stuff like FXAA. Alright, so let me show you the settings though. As you can see, this is the graphical settings, and for now I will be showing you the maximum settings, which is rendering scale at 100%, ambient occlusion on, textures on high. And this is the maximum settings, and as you can see, I'm able to kind of maintain above 60 frames per second on this region at the moment, which sounds good in my opinion. But as soon as you reach the city, performance just goes under 60 frames per second. And later on the game, I did discover that it's just not the cities. There are cutscenes, other environments outside the city that pushes the GPU and delivers frame rates lower than 60 frames per second. As you can see in the city, yeah, we are getting 60, but we are just really there crossing the line to drop down. So it's quite demanding. I'm not sure if it is the shadows or something that are very high resolution. Something is really off, and there are no options for shadows, for example, so you can't really drop down its quality. As you can see in this area of the city, I'm getting around 50s. So yeah, 1080p maximum setting, it does drop below 60. You might think for yourself, okay, so this is a stupid PC port, it's running probably because it's a bad port. No, it's not a bad port. Consoles also do struggle with this game. PS4 does drop below 60 frames per second. Xbox Series X does drop below 60 FPS. And Series S, there are even moments where it reaches around 30s. So yeah, this is a quite demanding game, but surprisingly it is for the GPU and not for the CPU, which is quite shocking that on the consoles they have their consoles to, you know, have frame rate drops instead of reducing the resolution to something that the consoles would be able to handle those 60 frames per second, because it would be very possible to do so, but still it is quite weird. But as you can see, even during some fights, the performance it is very good. It's really the environment exploration that does damage a lot the performance. At least that's what I have noticed. Now let's move on to 1440p in here. So I'm starting with my low settings. My low settings is essentially texture quality on high because we have enough VRAM, and ambient occlusion off. So basically my maximum settings it is ambient occlusion on, my minimum settings are, or low settings are ambient occlusion off. So that's the only setting you can really personalize aside from resolution, resolution scaling, or textures. But I mean, textures, it's just the textures. It only affects the VRAM. And as you can see, the game is just using 2.5 gigabytes of VRAM. We have 4 gigabytes of VRAM on the 1650 Super. So texture quality, it doesn't really affect the performance. And it delivers higher quality textures than playing on low. I think it was low, alright. So 1440p low settings, performance seems okay. But as soon as you get to the city, I'm already getting around 50 frames per second on these first seconds of the city. So, and as you can see, probably it's going to get worse on the second part of the city. As you can see, I will always come in here to watch a little bit the overview. Now let's move on to the second part of the city. And yeah, it's 48, 49, 50s. Yeah, that's well, that's not great, and that's just with ambient occlusion off. With ambient occlusion on, it is obviously worse. I'm not really sure why ambient occlusion is so demanding on this game. I don't see anything special, but it seems that ambient occlusion on this game it is being done. I still don't have the confirmation of this, but I have seen a logo of Nvidia GameWorks stuff, which is something that I don't see for a long time ago. So probably they are using the HBO plus HBAO plus from Nvidia GameWorks, which is an incredibly demanding ambient occlusion that it is just fed into the game. So right now I'm testing at 1080p maximum settings, so basically ambient occlusion on, and performance it is way much worse comparing to ambient occlusion off. So as you can see, 40 somethings, which is not good. So you can't even imagine the city. But yeah, it's around 40s. It's a little bit unfortunate because I don't understand. On the PC front, yeah, the game have very bad this kind of level of performance, which is bad for the visuals that the game have. But on the console space, when you buy a console, you are expecting the games to run at a kind of a fixed frame rate and being stable. And having a game with visuals like this running slowly on the consoles and dropping frames, it's quite weird. I mean, especially when it is something like GPU bound, which is what we are currently seeing in here. The only thing they needed it was to drop resolution even further, but they decided not to do it. As you can see, 1440p with ambient occlusion on, my performance is around 38 frames per second, 40 frames per second. So it's good if you want to play with 30 FPS lock. But if your target is 60, playing at 40 frames per second, it is quite distracting. So let's check it out the performance in the combat mode, and combat it nearly gets to 60. So yeah, combat is not bad, but still it does drop below 60. So yeah, if you are going with if you want to target 30 frames per second and you have a 1440p screen, just use the maximum settings with 100% resolution scaling and be happy about it. But then to end up the video, what I have in here it is, let me show you 4K. I'm going to play with textures on high, alright, and the ambient occlusion off as usual. And unfortunately, by using this performance, it is not enough. As you can see, I'm getting around 30 frames per second, 29. So it's already dropping in here. So the city will be worse. So what I will be doing it is reduce a little bit the resolution scaling to 75%. So what this does is that the game is upscaling from around 1600p which I think it is the resolution of the PS5, which the PS5 is running this game, but probably with ambient occlusion, of course. And as you can see, performance is at the moment above 30 frames per second. It is 38, 39, 37. The city will probably be worse, so let's check it out how it fares during the city. So city environments, surprisingly, it is not worse. It is at the more or less the same performance, 37, 38, 39. So it's a good result. Okay. So let's navigate to the second sequence of the city. So more or less the same. So 35, 36. It is slightly worse, but still above 30 frames per second. Okay, so it's 33. Keep in mind that I'm recording this with Shadowplay, so Shadowplay also have its own impact in the performance, but I wouldn't count that impact to be something considerable, which is it really isn't that considerable. And then to end up the video, we have in here the fight. And as you can see, it is around 50 frames per second, so the fights are not really that demanding. So I think that's all that I want to talk about Metaphor ReFantazio. If you are going to play at 1080p and you want to target 60 frames per second, consider disable ambient occlusion. And if you want to play at 30, just put everything to the max. 1440p is not able to get a 60 frames per second stable. So I would just probably use 1440p maximum settings, and that's about it. Put the max and lock the game to 30. And same can be said about 4K. If you have a 4K screen, just use 75% of resolution scaling. Put the game on the low settings, use textures on high, and well, just be happy about it. I think that's all that I want to talk again about Metaphor ReFantazio. Thank you a lot for watching, and I do hope to see you soon. Goodbye.